This video is about the end of the penny being made in the United States. This is for my mom and my dad, you see here with me as a baby, for whom I wouldn't be able to do what I do. Their Uranus conjunction and composite and synastry heavily affected me. So Neptune is going direct on his sun, and in conjunct my mom, my karma, and Neowise, which is new wisdom, in my natal chart. I started studying pennies and charts when I kept finding wheat pennies from her birth year when I was stressed out. My dad collected wheat pennies and sent me a lot of them over the years, starting with the year of his birth, and my husband at the time also collected them, adding to what he inherited. He and I have the Penney Asteroids conjunct very pertinent names and things, and he found one of those mom pennies for me even, and I found a rare Indian head penny the year of his great-grandmother's birth just sitting in my purse when I went looking for quarters to refill water jugs. Things get kind of weird in my life. It's just how it is. My solar return ascendant is even my parents' composite 12 degrees, 12 minutes Cancer for 2026. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to go. So anyway, Asteroid Child just went direct on my Chiron and Eris that are conjunct my Mercury, in conjunct my Virgo moon, which is also conjunct the progressed U.S. ascendant right now. Besides Penney with an E and Penney, P-I-N-N-E-Y, there are also coin, nickel, and some others I could have added into the chart I'm going to show. But the more I put, the more I confuse myself trying to explain it. And in this one, I did layer the natal and progressed with transits, which looks kind of a mess. That should be more than enough what I did put in. So it's also funny that Facebook Reels has been showing me one of my favorite shows, The Big Bang Theory Reels, especially featuring the character Penny the last month, but I haven't looked to see where the pennies are hitting for me. I've just had the urge to do this. So, alright. Here's another picture. It's just too cute, little me here. So, on to the next one. As I mentioned, I layered the natal and progressed with transits, and the transits I also added in were from the May 22nd announcement that they would stop producing the penny because it was becoming too expensive to create. And so that was May 22nd, so I'll show transits for that. And then the U.S. Mint printed its last penny Wednesday, November 12th, marking the latest milestone in the U.S. penny's end. So I also show the transits for that. So I was inspired to create this mess before you when Mercury, which is my chart and moon ruler, and also ruler of my Gianna in the 6th house Scorpio, turned direct at 21 degrees where it was in November. I'm no expert in mundane astrology. I learn as I go. There are plenty of experts already, and I believe that all of us have information to share with each other, so I put mine out there as a collaboration effort. I will never say that I'm any kind of expert on anything. I just do whatever my little nudges tell me to do. So back to Mercury, it went retrograde November 9th, traveling backwards. Mercury does rule accountancy and analyst experts, and they had analyzed it was too expensive to make them. So, real quick, I had to put myself some little notes here. We have the natal is here in black, and that is this is the U.S. Sibley chart that's standardly used as the birth chart of America. And so the planets at the signing of the Declaration of Independence were all at these degrees and in these signs. And the green that you see, which is normally shown as the transit planets, in this one, this is the progressed planets for the United States. We have just gone through our Pluto return. And red is the transits in May, so I tried to keep them more close to the inside of the wheel here. And then purple is the transits in November. So, like I said, it's a mess, but this is why I usually just show a piece of a chart with simple transits. So if we go to May at the announcement of the end of the penny, we have Mercury here in transit at 2129, and it's making a trine to the natal Neptune change right next to chaos here in the 9th house. It's also making a trine. No, hang on. I have notes for this. It's making a trine here to the progressed Mony, M-O-N-Y, which is money, 21 degrees, 40 minutes. So we have a grand trine from the Mercury there to the progressed money to change in Neptune. Okay? And that's in Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. Now it's sextile here. Oh, can't see. Amurekka, the progressed Amurekka 1809, the progressed Sun at 2035. It's sextile to the natal banks in the 3rd, and the 3rd rules, there we go, I have to look it up, I'm not a mundane expert. 3rd rules leadership, communication of the government with the public. So that's when they announced that they were going to do this. I'm going to give credit to the page that I've been learning this from. I do use the Dark Pixie a lot in the past, but it's no longer run by her. YourNetAstrologer.com is where this came from, and this is the Vedic mundane. So it was very interesting to see also that the Sun rules copper and gold, and Mars rules copper. Back to, you know, the modern penny has a outer layer of 2.5% copper over zinc. So Mercury rules Virgo here, and Mercury, Jupiter, Sun, 2nd and 9th houses rule the financial industry. 2nd house, Jupiter and Sun rule wealth. So we have the 2nd house, Pluto there in change, Amurekka, South Node and Pholus, rule wealth. Let's see. Mars is a significator of 3rd and 10th houses. So 10th house here, 3rd house here, where Banks is. And it's generally tied to eclipse activation, which we did have the Pisces eclipse at 15 degrees, 20 something minutes, September 7th. So Mars in May was at 15 degrees, 50 minutes in Leo, making an inconjunct to that Pisces eclipse. And I always see that as a karmic event, the inconjuncts. Is making a trine to Venus at the time too, and Venus rules money, and the 2nd house in Taurus. So we're getting off track here. So this Mercury right here at 2129 was also trine to the regressed money right here, as I mentioned. And in a grand trine with transit Columbia, I knew there was something up here, in November. So the purple is November, and see the 2021. Now we also have things going on globally with Columbia right now too, and 9th house in regular astrology is other cultures. So Columbia in November is traveling our 9th house. I'll try to stay out of politics. The progressed Pinney here in the 8th house in Cancer, the homeland, is square to the natal Chiron in 4th, right here, 20 degrees. And the 4th is the ruled by the moon, and it's also the people, the homeland. And everybody's like, oh, the penny, not the penny. That also is going to affect the 11th house, which is charitable donations, other people's money here in Scorpio. Big, big explanations going all around for all of that. So I'm going to try to stay on track. So pennies won't actually end being circulated until 2026. I believe they are still, they've pressed them and they're still going to be sending them out into circulation, the newer ones. So there'll be more for that. But with the Chiron involved and the 4th house homeland, all of that, we also have, checks are looking at being discontinued completely by the government. And so then, of course, banks and banking will stop using them, which does affect the elderly, which is, Saturn as well, the traditional way that we've done things. And Saturn rules Capricorn. We still have that push for digital currencies and, getting rid of cash completely. And those are Uranus and Aquarius ruled. Money in the 11th house here. There's going to be power and control issues in Scorpio over money. I think, people don't want to do that. And there we have Fini also connected to that Penney, Progressed Penney, with the eye here, making a trine to the natal Fini, and Fini means the end. Boy, there I go talking in circles again. I'm trying here. Now, I was saying with the Uranus and Aquarius, the natal Uranus, which is this right here, 855 Gemini, forms an inconjunct to the Scorpio 11th house money. Not exact, but within orb. And it's in a finger of God yod with Eris in the 1st house of Capricorn at 809 here. So you have a sextile where both of them are inconjunct to the Uranus right here. Now we do have the progressed midheaven sitting right at 803. And that's making an inconjunct to the Eris in the 1st house. And the 1st house, that's the identity of a person or of the nation. So that also is shown by the Aries house. And we do have a wounded identity with Chiron here. It's also where our Penney with an E sits. So Uranus and Eris involved in this yod do also rule discord and rebellion. And that aspect in the birth chart makes me think of manifest destiny, especially with that Sag rising here, the desire for freedom. And, we escape England and the Saturn authority and laws and Libra 10th here. Manifest destiny and the freedom from the taxes and the beliefs and, beliefs and philosophies of England. So anyway, that's a whole nother study in itself. But let's see, I mentioned the Sun and Mars rule copper. So the Sun here in November was at 19 degrees 51 minutes. And it's making all kind of little connections to anything 18 to 20 degrees in very close orb. And that would include a trine to the progressed Penney here, to the Mars ruling copper here in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury and circulation. So then we have the Sun was opposite the Mercury from May. The Sun's in conjunct the natal Chiron in the 4th. I knew there was something more exact. It's square Fini here in Aquarius. This is the progressed Fini. And, we do have all these sun things going on, too, that are kind of crazy. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but it's definitely, things are going on all around the world with all of the catastrophes. It's something, it's definitely a big change. So that's the progressed Fini there, and it's connecting to the progressed Mony here. Let's see. Probably most fascinating are all the 29s. In November, Mony and Pinney with the E were conjunct at 29 degrees here, and they were opposite Penney with an I. And of course, we have Neptune right now stationing direct at 29 degrees where it's hanging out, and it's at the very last sign of the zodiac, Pisces. And that was at 29:35, November 12th. We have Amurekka, which is America but spelled Amurrekk. I think it's one R and two Ks. I get myself all confused. So anyway, that makes me think of the Zionists, the Christian nationalists, that organization I don't really want to mention that is a little over the top and got into the government in the late 1800s. So this is one version of America, and then we have another America that is, just spelled America. Colombia is also used as America from my early learnings of asteroids. But so there's two different Americas, and you can see that in the way that we are divided. We go back. I was doing the 29s. Hang on, let me look at my notes. So we had a partial solar eclipse September 21st at 28:59 Virgo. So that would be right here, right near the midheaven. Astrologers call that 29. And we had an annular solar eclipse 28:56 Aquarius coming up right here, February 17th, 2026. So transit Penney in November, like I said, with the I, was at 29 degrees, sextile to Neptune at 29 degrees. Opposite transit Mony and Penney with the E. And trine to the progressed Pluto at 29 degrees. You see all this connection here to the progressed Pluto right here. All right, so, and then the Amurekka with it is 2 Ks. And the natal is a 29 degrees in the second house of Capricorn. So the numerology, 29, very interesting. The progressed Pluto conjunct this Amurekka with the 2 Ks at 29 degrees is trine to the natal midheaven, which is the public image. And Pluto brings on a lot of power struggles, lots of changes, secrets coming out. Pluto is related to death. And, we had the horrible floods that killed the girls in July, and then Charlie Kirk's death. And so, we're in the news a lot with some other big political things. Trying to stay out of politics here, but we've been in the spotlight. So the sun was trine to that progressed Pluto in May. So when we go there, I had to track it down. May is in red. So it was trine to the progressed Pluto in May, and lots of changes and power struggles. And the one thing I want to point out, the progressed midheaven, the MC right here, is at 8:03. It's inching into the Uranus at 8:55. So that's a little bit concerning. Now we have a 12-degree Sagittarius rising. Fini in May, when they announced the end of the penny, was sitting right on the descendant axis opposite the ascendant. And in my notes there, we had a partial solar eclipse March 29th at 8:53 Aries that connects to the Uranus. So this is Aries partial eclipse connecting to our Uranus. And that would also connect to money, the nodes, and Penney at 7:46 right next to Uranus. Penney with an I. And then a total lunar eclipse March 3rd coming up 2026 in Virgo 12:51. So that's up here. And the ascendant in November is 11:04, the progressed ascendant. So the eclipse will be happening right at our ascendant in the progressed. Then we have, what's that going to connect to? That's going to square the ascendant and descendant. Is what it's going to do. I don't predict. I'm not experienced enough. But it's also trying to the progressed Eris at 10. Now this is really cool. So in May, Pholus, which is there when the cork is popped. It's a centaur. And when something is announced, something happens, an event, you look at Pholus. And Pholus was at 11 degrees, 12 minutes. The last penny was pressed on 11:12. So that was kind of cool to see that. And it was in conjunct Fini, which is the end, opposite the sun. And of course the sun rules copper, and the sun in mundane. I'm not even going to try to do mundane and explain it. Look it up if you're interested. So what else was interesting? Oh, Quaoar has been running with Pholus. And Quaoar is cosmic creativity. It can be violence and some really big heavy stuff. But Pholus and Quaoar have been running together for a while. So they're also conjunct the progressed Eris, which is discord for positive change, strife, the rabble rouser, the rebellious person that sticks up for the underdog. I have it conjunct my Mercury in Chiron. So, so Pholus was trying to the progressed ascendant here in Virgo, and in a semi-sextile to transit Banks in November. I don't know why I didn't make my notes better. So we're looking for purple in November. I was reading it wrong. So, conjunct the progressed Amurekka and Vertex. Found it. Right here, down here in November, Banks at 11:23, sitting on the progressed Amurekka 11:55, and the Vertex is at 12:10, which connects by sextile to the ascendant. Progressed Pholus at 8:23 is making a trine to the Uranus, and Penney with an I here. And where Amurekka was in May, sitting right here at the progressed midheaven and Uranus and Penney natal. Okay? And then it was also Banks sextile to the natal Penney with an E in the 4th house here. Transit Penney in May was in Aries 4th. So right here, Penney with an I was in conjunct Mony here. Alright. Fun fact, I didn't do real well in my public speaking in college either. So 5s and 6s, we've had chaos going in Cancer here. For a while, and Mercury RX retrograde and Mars in November were conjunct. There. In the 12th house, making it in conjunct to the chaos in November. Sitting right here on the Jupiter. And the Jupiter, of course, ruled the money, wealth. And then we have, they were opposite the natal Penney. And Uranus here. And where Amurekka was at May, opposite the progressed midheaven and Uranus here, all in the 6th house and that Penney. So, transit chaos was near the Venus in May at 2 degrees, 42 minutes, and crossed over the Venus here in the 7th. That would be, if that was in May, then that would have been, it moved slowly, would have been about July when the tragedy happened in Texas, and the other tragedy, so chaos going over there, and it made it up to 5 before it started retrograding. So it was trying to the progressed retrograde Saturn. Over here, chaos was in May. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, the Pluto, Amurekka with the K's, the progressed money, and the South Node passed, and the progressed Pluto here at critical 29 degrees. Capricorn, so, and then also the 10th house, Saturn is in the 10th house in its home there, and Amurekka at 27 degrees. So we'll get back to the 27s in a moment, but let me peek here. Transit chaos in November in the purple here. Like I said, it had gone retrograde, and it was sextile the progressed Venus in Taurus right here in the 5th house, which is ruled by the sun. And the sun rules the wealth and the copper and the financial industry. And then we have the moon. The moon was squaring chaos. I don't know. In November, the moon and Fini were conjunct. And where the Mars was that I've mentioned earlier connects to all that. And the moon moves pretty quickly. You know, everything moves this way. And in November, right at the time of the end of the Penney, it made aspects to all kind of things just over in that 2.5 days it was in Leo. And it would make an inconjunct here to the Eris, Pholus, and all of that also. So that connects to a whole lot of things that have been going on in the United States. So let's see, transit money retrograde in May, right here, 549, was also trying to the November chaos. And square the south node of Pholus and the north node. So, big touches there. So, the progressed part of fortune is at 27 degrees, 25 minutes. And that's right nearby the Neptune at 25 and the progressed chaos at 25, so 53 and 42 minutes. So they're real close together, progressed chaos and Neptune. And Saturn went direct recently at 25 degrees, so it's moving forward there in Pisces down here. It was retrograde in November at 25-23, and that makes that in conjunct to the chaos and the Neptune. So then we have it's the part of fortune is trine to the natal Pluto here in the second house. That's the money house ruled by Venus in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, government. And then we have in conjunct the moon, which represents the people in third Aquarius. So that's the collective, the people. And the moon, of course, rules the fourth house. Bigger explanations. This is getting long. So the natal Amurekka at 27 degrees, right here in Libra, is square the natal Pluto in the second house. And trine to the moon in the third. Transit Amurekka in November at 27 degrees opposite the moon. Semi-sextile to the progressed part of fortune, 30 degrees here to the part of fortune in the ninth. And also to the vertex, which is destiny's gateway. Here. And you see the Amurekka's vertex and part of fortune in the natal are conjunct only 3 minutes apart in the 8th house. So that's ruled by Pluto. That's some pretty big stuff. Let's see. Now, I kind of went on about the fives because of chaos, and the sixes, the progressed Venus at 6 degrees here in Taurus at the announcement was square to Pholus in the 2nd and 8th house nodes. You see here sextile to Jupiter, but square to the north node in the 8th here, and to the south node past. That's conjunct Pholus in 2nd house Aquarius. So then we have, these are the money houses. And of course, we started out because of the tax situation. 2nd house is also beliefs and values. 8th house, power and control issues. So, transit Venus in November, when the last penny was pressed, was conjunct to money. In May, Venus at 620 on the money in May. And opposite that progressed Venus, as I pointed out. And it squared the north node future and south node past. So, in conjunct the progressed Uranus. And the progressed Uranus is right here. Okay. So Venus was in conjunct the progressed Uranus. And the transit Sun conjunct Amurekka in May was conjunct the natal Pinney in 6. Right here at 110, it moved over the Pinney, trine to Amurekka with the K. Yeah, because the sun moves a degree a day. So if it was in May at 1 degree, you know, it traveled from 28, 29. So activating the eclipse points and as it went along. So anyway, let's see what else. Now some other things, being a Sagittarius rising, Jupiter rules the entire chart of the United States. And it rules the 9th house where that chaos and change and Neptune and Columbia are. Jupiter retrograded past the North Node in the 8th house. Right here. In the progressed North Node. Change in May was right here on the Mercury vertex part of fortune. And where Jupiter was retrograde at in November. And then it was conjunct the change in May at the Mercury vertex part of fortune conjunction opposite Pluto in the 2nd, and that's square to Amurekka. So I'm not sure what sits down here, but anyway, so yeah, you can see it makes all these big connections there. Let me see if there's anything else, but mainly I'm just trying to get out there some of the things that I saw. I think the 14/16s are the last thing. Let me take a drink of water. Alright, so we had the total lunar eclipse at 15 degrees 24 minutes, Pisces, September 7th. And Pisces down here in the 3rd house, ruled by Mercury, where our bank sits. And that eclipse connected around to anything around 15 degrees, which would be in conjunct our Saturn in Libra, and our progressed Mars here in the 10th house. And it would square the ascendant and descendant, trine the Sun, trine the progressed Jupiter. So then we have the North Node in November in conjunct Mars in Leo 8. So the North Node in November at 1605. It's in conjunct Fini and the Moon in November also. And they were crossed over that Mars. And then transit Mars in May. Here is trine the Venus in May and 4th homeland. The Moon and Fini conjunct that spot, as I pointed out. The Moon squaring natal Fini over here, trine to the ascendant, and progressed Columbia and change in the 1st house. You can see those right here. Now change is at 23 degrees, and we've had some 23s. Maybe that, I did have a list of 23s. We had a total lunar eclipse March 14th at 23:58 Virgo. So that was transit the change and chaos here. So that was back March 14th. Now back to the 14/16s. The Moon and Fini were in conjunct to the Eris, Pholus, and all of that here. Squaring the progressed Pinney. I'm just going to read them. And in conjunct the progressed Amurekka with the K's and the Sun, opposite progressed Fini in the 2nd. And the progressed is all here in the green. So the Moon was opposite that. And trine to the progressed Banks and Chiron right here in the 4th. Square the May Mercury at the time. So you kind of see it gets really, really messy trying to do that, especially when I put in 2 different transit dates. But otherwise, this would really take forever. So If we go back to the eclipse from March 14th at 23:58 Virgo right here, then transit change in the purple here in November was on the natal chaos, square to the progressed change here, and square to the natal banks, or opposite the natal banks, here. And then the progressed Mercury in Aquarius, which is went the wrong direction, right here at 23:32. Is in conjunct the chaos change Neptune natal and sextile the transit Chiron in November. Chiron here in Aries 4th. So then we have transit change in May across the Mercury. Right here, as I said, across the Mercury here, opposite Amurekka with the K's. So the 25, the transit nodes, the south node and north node, passed over the progressed chaos. It went 25 degrees here, then traveling this way. The nodes go clockwise. Everything. Now, as the nodes continued to go this way, they made a square to change where Jupiter was in May, opposite the north node here. South node and north node are always on an axis opposite each other and connecting to all of that. So they're now at 13 degrees Virgo and Pisces. Give you an idea how quickly they move from May to now. But yeah, so anyway, you can just kind of see that things line up and follow through, and it can be very hard to explain it all. There are many things I could put in for the other events, things I could add in, but just trying to explain it without losing my own mind gets kind of hard. I made myself some notes here that the progressed chaos and Neptune are conjunct, which I did mention. The progressed ascendant is square the ascendant and descendant, which I did mention. And the progressed midheaven right here is in the quincunx or in conjunct to the natal Eris. So I believe I covered all of that, and this is about as far as this is going to go. Thank you for your patience. If you've watched all the way through here to the end, I'm sure I've missed quite a few things, but if you know how to read a chart, then you can kind of get an idea of what I was trying to do here. Thanks for watching.